Hello, and welcome back to Too Many Books. My name is Sean, and today I'd like to talk to you about The Beast You Are, Stories by Paul Tremblay. This particular edition that I'm showcasing here is the limited edition from SST Publications, but it's available as a wide-release trade edition if you would rather have that. But as I'm flipping through, I will showcase some of the interiors from this SST edition, including illustrations by Vincent, Sammy, and a reverse dust jacket by Daniele Sera. Anyways, I'll talk more about this particular edition after I'm done talking about the collection itself. Now, I was a little wary going into things here with The Beast You Are because I had already heard plenty of varied reviews. Some people enjoyed it. Some people absolutely hated it. And I hate to say that I'm kind of in that mixed bag as well. It's, there were some stories in here that were pretty good. But most of the stories kind of aired on a more experimental structure or experimental format that I think didn't really do it any favors. So let's dive in. I did read this over the course of almost like a month and a half, because I was, bouncing back and forth reading short stories. So my recollection of some of these stories might be a little faint, but I'm going to do my best as we dive in. And first of all, table of contents, exceptional in this SST edition. I love Vincent Sammy's artwork here, which features an illustration from The Beast You Are, which is a bulk of this collection. First up, we have Ice Cold Lemonade, 25 cents. Crossed out. Haunted House Tour, 1 per person. This one, it's an all right story. It's not a bad tale. It's about a man having a recollection of his childhood in which he met some neighborhood girls who one day were selling lemonade and the next day were taking you on a tour of their haunted house. I mean, there are some predictable aspects of the haunted house story, which are pretty believable. I mean, it definitely felt in line with a young preteen child telling, a haunted house story. And I didn't mind that aspect of it, but there is a illustration that he stumbles upon. He steals it from the house. He's presented it in the house that kind of jogs his memory. It almost has like a haunting aspect to it. And I hate to say that this is not a very haunting image. So my understanding is this is printed in the trade edition as well. And in the story notes in the end, he does explain that his actual kid drew this illustration, which is, I guess, creepy when your kid draws something like that. But in the realm of the short story, it's all right. Next up is our first piece of what's honestly flash fiction in this collection. Meantime, I mean, here we go. It's not even 3 full pages. Hell, it's like two full pages, really, because you got a half page there, or just over half a page there. The story of, once again, a childhood recollection, this time dealing with a man who navigates his way around town through chalk. And I can't really say anything else, but yeah, without spoiling it. But it's all right. It's so short that it's over. Next up, we have I Know You're There, which is a story of loss and grieving. It's a story of a man named Silas who is mourning the passing of his partner, and he is having a recollection of the fateful day that his partner passed. And it's, once again, you're going to hear this over and over again, it's all right. I feel like as he's telling this story and as he's, relaying this information to every person he encounters, it gets a little repetitive, but I mean, there's a lot of heart in this story, so I mean, it does kind of shine through in that regard. Next up, we have The Postal Zone, the Possession Edition, which is one of the many experimental formats within this collection. This entire thing is a fanzine. Well, not really a fanzine, because it's through Fangoria, which is a pretty legitimate, magazine. But the whole thing is a column of contributions and letters to the editor and posts regarding to Fangoria, relating to a series, right? I think pretty sure it was a series called The Possession, and various people chiming in with their own thoughts regarding the idea of possessions as a whole. I mean, it's experimental, it's interesting, it doesn't quite have a story to it so much as it's just, chats, but it's not bad. Next up, Red Eyes. This is one of the monster stories, I believe. Apparently, Marjorie and Mary are characters from Head Full of Ghosts, which I scandalously have not read yet. But it's almost like flash fiction as well. We're looking at another 5 little pages here. If I recall, it's kind of a monster one, which was decent. It wasn't bad, but wasn't really great either. Next up, the blog At the End of the World. This one is, as he mentioned in his story notes, kind of eerie in that it's almost about a pandemic of sorts, but this was written many years before, COVID's pandemic, but it very much hits home in the wake of 2020 and the aftermath of 2020. It deals with a bunch of friends blogging at the end of the world, and it's, once again, repetitive word of the day, it's all right. Next up, Them, a pitch. Now this one, I almost wanted to see the trade release just to see how this plays out. It's not even a short story per se. It's the idea. It's literally a movie pitch. It's a pitch of a story dealing with them, the giant killer ants. Think the ants from Them. And we do have an illustration here by Vincent and Sammy, kind of displaying one of the scenes that is being explored in the pitch. But I mean, it just, why? What is this? What are we doing here? Why? Next up, House of Windows. Not gonna lie, this is one of the best ones in the collection. It's weird, and that's the best way to describe it. It's a strange house. The House of Windows pops up in town. It's suddenly a building is there that didn't seem to be there before, and oddly enough, the building seems to be growing. And it's just such a bizarre story that I actually enjoyed it. And unlike many of the other stories here, you actually get some depth to it. So there's actually some breathing room, which is, I think, what most of these stories do struggle with. Next is one of the other longer ones in here. This is The Last Conversation, another one of the best stories in this collection. It's kind of experimental in that a lot of it is processed and presented in second-person narration or straight-up dialogue. I mean, you have straight-up dialogue here. You have second person right here. You fall only once. You climb back onto the treadmill without being asked to. But I'm not going to lie. I enjoyed it. How do I describe it? Keeping the second-person narration alive. You wake up with a hell of a sense of amnesia, not really sure of who you are and where you are, but you're there with your mentor, this woman who's trying to help you along. And you're going to go through some tests. You're going to go through some learning as you figure out what the hell's going on around you. And it's a pretty good story. I enjoyed that one. I mean, it's still experimental, but it's there. Next up, we have Mostly Size, which I'm not going to lie, I don't know if I remember this one, which is probably not a good thing. Next up after that is The Large Man. I believe this was like the noir style one, right? I hate to say it. Maybe this is another one I don't quite recall. Probably not a great thing in its own regard. But unfortunately, that's one of those aspects of maybe I should have read this quicker. Next up, The Dead Thing. A good old childhood story of a brother and sister, and the brother has a dead thing in a box. It's good. It's a good one. It's not as long as one would like. The dialogue here between the siblings is, once again, experimental in format. But it's not bad. It doesn't detract from the story. Next up, Howard Sturgis and the letters and the van and what he found when he went back to his house. This is another weird one. This one's actually from a 10-Word Tragedies, a collection based off Frank Turner songs that was previously published by PS Publishing. And it deals with Howard Sturgis, this man who receives letters from the Circe group that he, praise him and thank him for things that he is not aware of. And he's kind of being gaslit in a way from these letters, trying to figure out what the hell's going on. And I'm not going to lie, I enjoyed it. Nothing really experimental in this one, although the formatting does take all sorts of shapes and sizes with this SST edition, based on the different typesets, based on the handwritten letters. Very well done. Don't know if it presents it that way in the trade edition, but it works well in SST's edition. Next up, The Party. This one is sort of an end-of-the-world party, And I feel like, after having read it, I feel like I missed something in it. You know, it left too many unanswered questions in my mind of me going, what the hell just happened? It wasn't bad. Apparently it was from a Shirley Jackson tribute anthology. But, yeah. Next up, we have the bulk. There we go. Half the damn length of the collection itself. The Beast You Are by Kay Bristle. It's a story, a fictional story. Obviously, they're all fictional stories, but this one's, a story by another author within this collection, which has the weirdest formatting ever. The whole thing is in free verse. I don't understand why. If you try to just read it out like a short story, it works. It's not bad. I mean, I love the world building. It's a world in which anthropomorphic animals reign, and they're led by a cult, as any anthropomorphic animal society would be, and they have a tradition of sacrificing some of their children to a strange beast from the north. It's and then there turns out, so it deals with one of those sacrificial rites, and then that leads in its way into its own little rebellion against the cult, which also leads into a sort of slasher serial killer going around. I mean, I'm not gonna lie, it wasn't bad. But the formatting is terrible. Like, I don't understand why this is in free verse. It doesn't need to be. You could have just turned this into a regular old short story, and you would have been fine for it. But you can just try to read it like a short story. You might get some enjoyment out of it. But if you're really dedicated to the free verse aspect of it, you might be, banging your head against the wall because you're like, why is it like this? After that, you do have a bit of story notes, which is a weird and wild ride of going through each and every story in the collection. It's not bad sometimes. I love the idea of story notes, especially when they add something to the short story. Most of these really don't talk about the story itself to any degree, so much as they talk about where the story was born from or what the background is for its original publication, which is all right. I mean, it's more of background notes than story notes. Sometimes, though, you get some pretty interesting aspects. And I believe somewhere in here, I can't remember which one it was in, he actually mentions the weird format from one of the stories, and his answer for it was, why not? Which is, I guess, a rationale to have. But anyways, this SST edition, after the acknowledgments, does have a bonus short story, bonus material in the form of Harold the Spider-Man, which you're not going to get in the regular trade edition, and I'm sad to say is probably one of the best ones in the whole collection. It's weird. It's not satire and it's not comedy, but it does have a satirical element to it. Like it's a man we all deal with grief in different ways. Harold deals with his grief by bringing every goddamn species of spider he knows into his house to just run rampant, which sounds like a nightmare for some people. And it's not really a horror story by any means, but it's fascinating. It was enjoyable. And it does have the single best paragraph or the single best line of this whole collection in here, which I'm going to read, though. So this is incredible. It reminds me of like Neil Gaiman's kind of wits, which I know you want to talk about him, but I'm just going to bring that up. Alicia was sickly and thin and was always melodramatically suffering from various flavor-of-the-week ailments. Most thought she was a hypochondriac, but as if to prove the naysayers wrong, she went to bed early one night and never woke up. That is amazing. That is an amazing sentence. Like I said, the best sentence in the whole collection. But anyways, overall results are going to vary with The Beast You Are. I mean, it's not Paul Tremblay's best work by any means. It's not a horror collection. I mean, the artwork might presume that it's horror. Paul Tremblay himself, being a pretty established horror author, might make you think it's horror. But if you're going in expecting a horror collection, you're going to be sorely disappointed. Yes, there is some horror in here, but I mean, really, it's just a mixed bag of strange experimental stories. Now, this edition is still available from SST Publications. It's a good edition. I mean, it's very well done. Nice cloth boards on it, the sewn binding, good artwork from Vincent, Sammy, and it does have that bonus short story. But in all honesty, if you did want to read this collection, just get a trade release. You could probably find it for a few bucks as opposed to spending more for a fancier signed edition. But hey, maybe you need to complete a Paul Tremblay collection. You do you. But anyways, thank you very much for watching. Please consider subscribing to the channel here. I do at least one book review a week. Plenty of unboxing videos in between here and there. And check out Paul Tremblay. Check out SST Publications. And we'll see you around next time.